Okay, so now that we have the triple tree off, what we have to do is we're going to kind of switch some parts over to the new one. So this is the old one, this is the new one. What we did was we took the bolts out of the pinch bolts for the fork tubes and we put those in the new one, so you want to make sure you switch those over. The bolts that held the brackets on, the upright brackets, make sure you put those bolts in just so you don't lose them. But the one thing you're going to want to do is grease this bearing a little bit. Put a little grease in this bearing. You don't have to go overboard, but you want to kind of get it in there and work it in there. Get it in the rollers real good. And if you kind of go from the top here and push it down in, it'll get inside there. And spin it, you know, when you're doing it, so it gets coated on all those rollers. Okay, so that basically takes care of the bottom part. That's all you need. You're going to reuse the nuts that you used before that came out. So that takes care of that. Now the top, you have to take the risers out and the clamps. It's a 19 millimeter. I already loosened them a little bit here, but you're just going to want to take those out. And the one thing down inside here is a little bushing piece. You want to make sure you don't forget that. Just kind of pull it out of there. Make sure you don't forget that and put that in the other triple tree. You're going to want to pop these rubbers out. If you can't get them out with your fingers, you might use a screwdriver to kind of pull them out. And then just put them in the same way. Really just transferring the parts from one to the other. That one's kind of stuck. And you don't have to tighten these up all the way now. Just get them snug. You can tighten them up later. Because you'll want to line these up so the handlebar sits in it right. So you just kind of snug them up like that. So that's basically all there is to switching the parts over. The next thing you're going to do is we'll show you here on the bike. We're going to just put this up in. Make sure you put it on the right way. You want to have your bracket, your bolt here for your bracket facing forward. So it just goes in there. Just get it in there. Make sure it turns. Put your lock nut on. And since it's new, it may be a little hard to put on. Like I said, you can take it off. You can tap it around if you don't have the right wrench, which most of you don't have that. It's not really tight, it's just too tight with the fresh coating on the threads for me to do it by hand. I can show you how to do it with a pair of channel locks too if you have that. This is a big pair, but same thing. You can see it goes down quite a ways before it even starts to get tight. So right there we got tight. Now you don't want to put this thing really tight because it'll bind this up. You don't want it loose because it'll wobble. So you just kind of get it snug, and then I'd back it off just a hair because you set that bearing in there, and then you back it off just a hair. If you have the right wrench, you can do the right torque and all that, but most, like I say, most of you guys don't have that. So just get it snug. Don't over tighten it. Just get it snug, and then I just back it off just a hair. Once you get that done, you can put the top triple tree on. That's where that bushing piece . It's actually fitting pretty tight on there. There we go. Just kind of got stuck. Make sure it's going on there. What I'm going to do on this is it's got the coating on here. I'm going to sand some of that off a little bit. It goes on, but it's really tight. So we're going to kind of clean that up just a hair. We'll come right back. Okay, so what we had to do was on here is that anti-rust coating, and it was just a little bit too thick. So I just kind of took a little sandpaper and a file and cleaned that up. So now this goes down on there all the way, and it's tight. You don't want to do it too much. You'll get it too loose, but now that goes on there. And I've done these before, and you don't have to do that, so just some are a little different. So that's all there is. You put that on there. And get your nut, and the nut again is going to be a little tight. Because of that coating. And just get it down. You don't want to tighten it up quite yet. Just get it snug. That way you can turn these, and when you put your fork tubes up through, it'll help line everything up. Then you can tighten the stuff down. The same with these handlebar risers. What I like to do is right now, I like to set the handlebars on there and then tighten the riser nuts up, just because the fork tubes are out of the way right now. So you can just set your bars in there and twist these till they line up just right, and then you can tighten these up. Because if you don't, they could go crooked and you'll have to do it later. Okay, And then just double check, make sure you got them on there right. And they're out of whack a little bit. The one thing I just noticed, this is in the wrong spot. I have to spin that around. There we go. Guess that's something I should have told you have to pay attention to, because if you remember when we took them off, the bolt was up underneath here. This one was down this way. So we'll do this again. And you can snug these up pretty good. You can always tighten them again later if you have to, but that gets everything parallel in line there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop our fork up through. And again, it should go pretty much up in there. And we'll show you what you have to do to the forks. But basically, I just kind of line that up. Get that where it needs to go. I'm going to get my socket. Now you can tighten up your triple tree, and you want to do that to the right torque. So you'll torque that to the right setting. But that way, now your triple tree's lined up to where your forks need to go. So the next thing we'll show you is on this particular setup, we need to take the fork apart and put a little spacer in there so that when it's traveling down the road, you don't bottom out and hit your fender. So we'll show you how to do that next.